In this lesson, we're going to create the weapon behavior for our assault rifle. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our assault rifle script here. So let's just right click on custom scripts, create JavaScript. Now let's call this assault rifle. And let's double click on assault rifle and bring up our MonoDevelop environment. And what we're going to do is I'm going to actually copy and paste the script that I have for this, and it's in a text document that's in your project folder. So let's go ahead and paste this in. And you'll see that we get quite a bit of information here, and what we're going to spend throughout this lesson, what we're going to spend time doing is actually going through line by line and explaining what it does and trying to get to a point to where you can actually understand it and possibly even build off of this. So what I want to talk about first is our variables. Now you'll see that we have two different types of variables in here. We have just regular var, and then we have private var. Okay? Now the difference between the two is that var will actually show up in the editor, and I can actually edit these values in the editor itself. Now private var is going to keep this information hidden from the editor. Okay, so this stuff is just going to kind of happen in the background. All right, so let me just show you what I mean by this. Let me go ahead and save this really quickly. And let me go to Unity. And I'm just going to apply this assault rifle to my assault rifle game object really quickly. And you can see that I have range, fire rate, force, damage, bullets per clip, clips, reload time, and muzzle flash. Those are those variables that just had that regular var in front of them. Now I can actually edit these values. I can change these to whatever I want to get a different behavior out of this assault rifle. So that's going to be your major advantage to using this JavaScript here. Now let's go ahead and go back to our MonoDevelop environment and kind of explain what this does. And we'll probably do this in a couple of lessons because I want to take my time and make sure that you understand what's going on here. Okay? Now, our variables. The first variable that we have is called range. And the range is going to tell my gun how far it can shoot. So in this case, we have 100. Now, I don't know if that's 100 feet or if that's 100 meters. So it's just a value that you can use here. Now, we have fire rate, and our fire rate tells how fast our gun can shoot. Okay? Determines our rate of fire. Now we have force, and we want to be able to apply a force to our rigid body objects that we shoot. So in case we have a box or something like that we want to shoot, a force will push it back. The higher the force, the more that box will actually move. So if I'm using my assault rifle, I might want to keep my force a little bit lower than compared to a shotgun. So my shotgun may have like 30 force, and it's ultimately going to push that box back further. Okay. Now I also want to have damage in here, and I put damage in here because there could be the intention of actually allowing ticks to have hit points. And if a tick has 100 hit points, with the assault rifle doing 10 damage, it's going to take 10 shots from the assault rifle to kill one tick. Okay? Now we have bullets per clip. This is pretty self-explanatory. This is telling us how much ammo comes per clip. Then we have clips themselves. If we're going to have bullets per clip, we need to know how many clips the player can actually have. And then we have reload time. And I really put this variable in here to allow for timing for the animation of the reload. So whenever Delano creates our animation, our reload animation, I can actually just use this value to time it. Okay. Now we have our private variable called hit particles here, and this is basically just getting the particle emitter that we want to use to actually emit whenever we fire and shoot a surface. Okay. Now we have muzzle flash, and this is going to get the object that is going to be used to show the muzzle flash. So this is going to show like two planes that are crossed that have a muzzle flash texture on them. Okay. Now we have bullets left, and bullets left is just, it's here because we're actually going to be inputting a value here. You'll notice that it says bullets left int is equal to 0. Well, bullets left is actually going to get its number based on the bullets per clip. So I haven't actually hard-coded how many bullets are left, because this is going to be a dynamic variable, something that's going to change as we play the game. Now, our next fire time and last frame shot is going to help us regulate the rate of fire, okay, based on actual time and not the computer's speed. Okay. Now, once we get through those variables, we'll start seeing these different functions, and we have a few different functions that we're going to use. The first function that we have is called our start function. And the start function basically runs any code as the level starts, but does not continue to run that code. So it's only going to run one time. So the first thing that we have is get particle systems attached to this script's game object. So if I wanted to make this easier to understand, I probably should have said to this script's or to the assault rifle game object. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually be parenting a Sparks particle system to our assault rifles. And this is actually going to go ahead and get that. It's going to determine, okay, they're going to use the Sparks because they parented it to this game object. Okay. Now, we also need to keep the particles from emitting all the time. By default, particles just emit. They just keep playing. So what we want to do is actually tell it, okay, don't start emitting these particles at the beginning, only spawn particles when they've collided with an object. So that's what we're doing here with this start function. Now, this is a Unity function. This is not something that we've made up. Okay, this is not a custom function, I should say. This is something that comes with Unity and something that JavaScript understands. Okay, now we have late update, and a late update function updates every frame as long as a behavior is enabled. So in this case, we see muzzle flash, and by default, muzzle flash is set to false. Okay, muzzle flash is enabled true whenever we hit the fire button. Okay, so it's basically checking right here. We shot this frame, so enable the muzzle flash. Okay, so this is what it's going to do. Now this bit of code right here enables our muzzle flash, and it animates it to rotate. Okay, so our muzzle flash object is actually going to rotate as we shoot, so that way it looks a little more dynamic. Okay. Now we have play sound, and this is going to wait for our audio loop to become true. And once it goes to false, it's no longer going to play this. Okay? So late updates need to make sure that a behavior has been enabled in order to execute its code. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wait on these last three functions. And we're going to talk about those in the next lesson because we're getting pretty deep into these functions. These are our custom functions that we've created for this. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to explain these line by line, but we're going to do that in our next lesson. So I'll see you there.